All right. So welcome, everyone. Tonight's meeting is the regular meeting of council, and it's being live streamed electronically as usual. And this is November the 1st, 2022 meeting. So welcome, everybody. We have people in the public. We have our staff, our council, our new council, or some of our new council, not all of it, but some of it, and people on live stream. So welcome to everybody to our meeting. And I would like to ask if everybody could give us a moment of silence before we begin. Thank you. Thank you, everyone. So we have a motion here. The first one was moved by Councillor Carroll and seconded by Councillor Jennings at the regular meeting of council agenda dated November the 1st, 2022 be approved as amended to move items 7A, 7B, and 7C from information to action item. All in favor? Thank you. And I'll also remind all of council that if you do have any disclosure of interest, you can declare it now or anytime during the meeting. Yes, Claus.
Yes, thank you, Reid. I declare a conflict of interest on item 3A.
No,
No,
that's,
sorry, that is there not something that you have to sign?
yeah, I'll give it to him.
Okay, okay. Anything else? Okay, thank you then. So we also have a motion that was moved by Councillor Carroll and seconded by Councillor Jennings that the minutes of the regular meeting of council November the 1st, 2022 be approved as circulated. All in favor? Okay, and that's carried. Thank you. And do we have any business arising from those minutes? Seeing none, then we're going to move on to the first report. And we have no delegations, I should say. And we're going to move on to the first report of the municipal officers. And that's going to be yours, Ali, and that's on the janitorial services, custodial services. Thanks.
Excuse me.
Thanks, Ali.
So thank you, Chair. As you will see in front of you this evening, on October 25th, I received a resignation from the current custodian for the Rosedale Hall Municipal Office and Public Works Garage, which was Claus Vandermeer. Previously, council had approved for an internal posting for the janitorial or cleaning services over at Rosedale Hall, which is currently posted internally. What we're requesting at this time, now that we are without a cleaner, custodian, janitor for the municipal hall, the fire room, and public works as well, that we post that internally. In the event that we are not successful, that we post externally, looking for someone to fill the position. Again, we have budgeted 10,000 for the municipal office, garage, and fire, and another 10,000 for Rosedale Hall. It's anticipated that it will come within budget based off of the job description and the wage for this year and for next year, unless there's some exponential
council's gonna think we're talking about.
You're good, Ally.
Grace, can you hear us?
Good.
Can you see us as well?
Yes.
Okay.
Go ahead.
Good.
Yep, we're live.
Okay, sorry everyone for our, the inconvenience. We were having some technical problems, so thanks for your patience, everybody. So we're going to go on. I was just about to open it up to council to see if we had any questions regarding this report. Yes, Jeff.
This is one thing. What was in the contract? What was the exit clause?
For the current,
Yeah,
so there technically was not one for Rosedale Hall. That one was just a temporary.
temporary.
And for
ongoing.
this one was also just an extension of one from 2013.
Correct, it was extended. but
Yeah.
And there was, so there was, it basically was until we had the new contract signed, but there was no, okay, I got you. Okay,
Yeah.
all right.
Any other further questions? So seeing none, we have a motion here was moved by Councillor Jennings and seconded by Councillor Straight, that council accepts the report on custodial janitor services as information. All in favor? That's carried. Thank you. So, Claus, we're finished. Thanks. So moving on to the next report is the final recreational feasibility study report, and that's also going to be yours, Ali.
Thank you, Chair. So the recreation feasibility study started back in 2020. This is the final report. So there was public input that came back to council for discussion. And this is the final product to be received by council. At this time, I'm recommending that council just accept it as information to be able to utilize it for grant applications in the future, not necessarily for what exactly is in the plan. Because, for example, right now we have an application into the Jays Care, which is the Blue Jays funding opportunity, to put in a ball field over there. So we've requested for a ball field and washrooms, about $175,000. So that's not even included in this rec plan, but we can utilize this. It's only accepted as information, so it's not set in stone that that's what we're doing. It's information. So we can use it for funding opportunities like Ontario Trillium and things like that, for items that some items might be included in here, some may not. It's more of just a document to prove that we would like to do something over there and to be able to receive funds in the event that applications come up.
I have one question regarding this, and that is that, like, they asked everybody to respond, and some did, some didn't. I know you did, and I had read every bit of it and had sent in quite a few comments and maybe slight additions or changes or whatever. So what happens to all of those? Are they incorporated into the new one? Because there's no way of, I wasn't able to kind of go through it now to see if there's any changes been made. So how do we know that they've actually looked at the changes that we've all sent in?
So if I may, Chair, so they requested that almost a year ago. So we're behind the 8 ball for them to make those major changes that were included. Because I know a number of people said there's not a ball field included, you know, those type of things. We would have been thousands of dollars to adjust the plan. So from our perspective as staff, it's more feasible for us to approve it as information, use it as a guide for applications, but we're still going to apply for what council decides on anyhow for recreational items. So now that we have this, we can always adjust it moving forward. Staff can adjust it to say, okay, this is what we're looking for based on strategic plans that the new council will set out.
And I don't have any problems with this motion or anything. And also, you know, using it for the funding. But I'm just wondering, like, because it wasn't that long ago that the request came out to us to respond, and we did.
So it was June 2021
Yeah.
that everyone was asked to respond.
Yeah.
When
But then
I
guess
started
the
up in
reminder,
May.
I think it was the reminder that you sent out. It wasn't very long ago.
No, so whenever I came on in May, this was still outstanding. So I just requested if there was any other comments, because I had comments as well. But like I said, it would have, and if council doesn't want to accept it as information and approve staff to spend $5,000 more to have it adjusted, that's entirely up to council, but it's not our recommendation to do that.
Right. Okay. Thanks. Yes, good.
So the fact that we already have, and then we've come back since, because we actually have that now, Ali's able to make adjustments to the plan when we go to bring it forward for any applications.
Yeah, and that's good, because I suspect that you made your own suggestions.
Yeah.
And I want to make sure that somebody looked at those in the future.
Yeah,
Otherwise,
absolutely.
otherwise that work that you did, and I know I spent a lot of time doing it also. I just wanted to make sure that they were still looking at that, or we did, the new council did, look at that for the changes.
Yeah.
For this, at least suggestions.
Absolutely.
So that's all they were.
Yep.
Yeah. Any other questions on this? Okay, then I have a motion. It was moved by Councillor Straight and seconded by Deputy Reeve Vandermeer that council accepts the final recreation feasibility plan as information for the use of grant funding applications. All in favor? That's carried. And Ali, thank you for all this extra work that you have done on this, because at least now we can use the plan as a tool.
Yeah.
So that's good. Thanks. So the next was also your report, and that's on the volunteer appreciation dinner policy.
Thank you, Chair. So 2 meetings ago, staff brought forward that the annual volunteer appreciation dinner would be coming back after the pandemic in person, and that it would be hosted on December 9th, 2022, Friday at Rosedale Community Hall. Council did request that we bring back the policy and who is included on the policy for invites. So staff is doing that at this time. Our recommendation is to remove the local newspaper reporters, as they haven't been invited for several years and they don't tend to attend the meetings in person. And the president of DREAM, as it's our understanding that that's no longer a committee within the township. So that's our recommendations, but it's brought forward in front of council this evening to if there's any further changes that they wish to see.
Questions? Okay, so I do have a motion that was moved by Deputy Reeve Vandermeer and seconded by Councillor Carl that council approved the policy to be amended to remove local newspaper reporters and the president of DREAM from the volunteer appreciation dinner policy. All in favor? And that's carried. Thank you. And moving on to the reports of the committees, the first report is the report from the Smith Falls Library Board minutes. We have nobody here from the board, I don't think. So do we have any questions and comments regarding this first report? Seeing none, I guess I'll just make my own comment. Because it certainly sounds like the board will be looking for volunteers. It sounds, I read what they were saying. It also sounds like they had a very difficult time in the last few months for all kinds of things, from parking to wondering how to get in or out of the library to other issues. But it sounds like they were able to endure those issues fairly well and move on, because as the report said, that the usage was actually up in some areas. But when I read it, my biggest concern would be that it also seems like the library is in dire need of a lot of physical help, structure, not necessarily maybe structurally, but certainly cosmetically. And the entrance, they're saying that it's deteriorated. They've got they're using the rug to cover it up and make it a little safer and stuff. So it looks like there's going to have to be some good money put into that building, because let's face it, if you can't look after your library, then there's something wrong. And the only other comment that I would make, and that's for the future, is I think that I just think it's something that could be looked at. Similar to our request that we had regarding having someone from Montague sit on just in on some of the discussions with the rink, with the big arena. I'm just wondering if it's something that could be discussed in the future, maybe about having a municipal rep from Montague either on that board or at least sit in on 1 or 2 discussions a year. I'm just making it as a comment. That's all.
So we do have a committee member.
We have a
That's
committee
six.
member.
Yeah, and she's going to start coming to council probably twice a year to give updates. She's very interested and wants to stay on the committee
Yeah.
and do those type of things. So we do have Sarah Lynn Martin is our rep for the municipality. So are you looking, like, are you requesting that we have a member of council?
I'm just throwing that out there.
Okay.
I'm just throwing it out as an idea, something can be discussed, because this council here has discussed, and previous councils have also discussed, that maybe we should be having a municipal rep sit in on the discussions for the arena, because we spend considerable amount of money cost sharing with them. So that, for the same reason, I'm wondering if that is feasible. And then I will say that I didn't necessarily, I kind of questioned the very last comment that was in this report, because it talked about doing something to improve the communication. This is what the board said in their meeting.
Mhm.
And I'm questioning that, because I thought that our communication was quite good, not just with Smith Falls Library, but also with the Merrickville Library. But if you read the report, the last thing that they're talking about was doing something to improve the communication. So what that means, I don't know what that meant, but it tweaked my thoughts there. Yes.
I wonder if they're referring to maybe their rep attending more, or even minutes coming more often.
Well,
So we weren't receiving minutes. We haven't received them for all of 2021 and all of 2022. I've requested them all.
mhm.
So I think it's communication from their side to us that they're discussing.
Well, whatever way
Yeah.
it is, that it was interesting. It was an interesting comment. I'm just saying, well, I'm wondering out loud then what they were talking about and how they were going to improve the communication. Yes, Ian?
Thanks, Reeve. I think that, what the Reeve's kind of alluding to is the fact that anytime there's a capital infrastructure improvement made, whether it be, something that can impact the township in a certain way, I think that there should be a council member representative that sits on that committee to help make the decision. I know there's some plans, the rep was here a few months ago, and there is some plans to do some capital infrastructure improvements there. And if at the end of the day, they go in and turn the library into the Shangri-La, and then turn around and come out to, the additional municipalities that are, surrounding it to help fund their rebuild. I think that if that's the case, then we should have a say in what it is that gets done. So if you're gonna pay for it, then you at least get your voice heard. The arena they went and built the thing and then expect everybody else to pay for it without any input in it. I think that's the important piece of the whole puzzle.
Yeah. Yes.
I just want to echo what Councillor Straight had said, that I think we should become more involved with the Smith Falls Library. I know personally, myself, Nancy McLean is a good friend of mine. They suffered a lot through the construction. That was one of the biggest problems they had, with people being able to get to the library because of the construction. That's over with now, so they're hoping, although some of the ways that they did the new entrances there, it's not the greatest, but anyway, we won't complain about that. So they're hoping now that that's over with, they'll be able to continue on. There have been dreams of expanding that library, because they are desperately out of space wise and so forth, to be able to do some of their programs, but those dreams probably fall to the wayside. As far as a member from this council, I agree with Councillor Straight. I think someone from the council could be a member on the library board to represent. We do it in other areas. Also, what we've done is we've had former council members sit on the committees, i.e. Vince Carroll is our rep for the RVCA. We spent a lot of money there on that, so it doesn't necessarily have to be a council member that would be represent this council. That's something to think about and so forth. So those are just my personal thoughts.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah, I think the rep we have right now is quite good and is ready to be really active. I mean, we all know what happened the last couple of years too as well. We had obviously the renovation on Beckwith Street that affected them, but with COVID, we try to do a few things, and I think there was some breakdown in communications there too as well. So I think going into the new council, I think we're going to see some good discussions with the library and Sarah Lynn really kind of coming in and saying, okay, what can we do? And I think there's, we had discussed it too as well in past councils, and things kind of unfortunately fell by the wayside with maybe communication breakdown with COVID. Also kind of, we didn't know if we could do it or not, if it was going to break down or not. I think, you know, as we get into next year, we're going to have some good possibilities there, especially at Rosedale Hall. So I think there's some, a good opportunity there. I think that's where I'm saying, hopefully communication will improve. I think it already is. And I think we're going to see, some positive things out of that. So.
Any other comments or questions? Okay, then seeing none, I have a motion moved by Councillor Carroll and second by Councillor Jennings that council accept the minutes of the Smith Falls Library Board meeting of September the 2022. All in favor? Okay, thank you. And we have the date. Thanks. The next one report is also yours. No, I guess this is the council one or the committee one. So the next motion was moved by Councillor Jennings and seconded by Councillor Carroll that council approve the minutes of the committee of the whole meeting of October the 4th, 2022. The next one is on the Montague Recreation Culture Committee meeting. That's the minutes. And I have a motion moved by Councillor Straight and seconded by Deputy Vandermeer that council approve the minutes of the Montague Recreation Culture Committee meeting of September the 27th, 2022, and approve the recommendations contained within. All in favor? Thank you. And those are carried. Do we have any business arising from those minutes? Okay, thanks. And we're also on to the Marrickville Library Board, and we have a motion moved by Deputy Vandermeer, seconded by Councillor Carroll, that council accept the minutes of the Marrickville Library Board meeting of September 2022. Do we need a September, an exact date on that? Okay. All in favor? It's carried. Thank you. No business arising from those minutes. Seeing none. Yep, tonight we have no petitions and no bylaws and no motions and notice of motion. And the correspondence, we had 3 action items moved forward. The correspondence items move forward. And the first one is on the proposed OPP detachment board from Lanark County.
I was one of them. I don't know if anybody else did. I didn't move it forward. So
You did move it forward?
I did, yeah. I moved all 3 forward. So if anybody else did, so they can speak up to as well.
Jeff, you can, I'll let you speak to these then.
I mean, I think real quick, I was, and this is a little bit more for our new council. I'm glad we have one of our council members in the audience today. And hopefully we can maybe put this on a future agenda too as well, just so there's an understanding of the new council coming in of how the police board is changing and how it's and you know kind of what we have and what we're going to. I think it's a good idea to understand that and to see how the representation is going to change and how we're going to kind of go forward with it. So I really want to bring it forward more to make sure that we're aware as the new council kind of comes into it and understands the of how OPP and how it's going to be, you know, looked at. I like it. I like this way better. I think it gives, you know, a little bit more accountability and direction with dealing with the OPP. And I just want to make sure that everybody's sort of comfortable as we go into the new council too as well, because we're also going to have a rep too as well that sits on that from our council too as well. So kind of putting that in the thought process as far as we look at that as it could come forward pretty quickly.
And just so that everybody knows, maybe just a little update that in the past, up until now at least, each municipality in Lanark County has its own police service board. And then there's also a county board, which is made up of the different municipalities. And the OPP, well, there's been discussions for about 3 years now,
Or longer.
yeah, maybe longer, to change that model, because there was a lot of duplication. Our inspectors and so on would have to come to each municipality and bring the stats from each municipality, but we'd also be talking about the whole county. But he had to repeat that many times. So that was a complete waste of time. And we started realizing that 3, 4, 5 years ago. So at our county meetings, we basically had a lot of buy-in right from the beginning that we should only have one board for all of the county. The question was always, how was it going to be made up? And for myself, for instance, I always promoted the idea that every single municipality should have at least one representative. Initially, they weren't recommending that. They were recommending, I think, 5. So that would have meant that 2 or 3 municipalities would have no representation. So anyways, according to some of us,
Yeah.
that wasn't about to fly, so.
And that's the direction it's
Yeah.
going now. And
Yeah.
it'll be the one from every, and then a community member too as well.
But
So it is,
it's just amazing how long something like this can take. Because they literally were asking that simple question 4 years, 5 years ago. And everybody was pretty well agreeing with it at the county level. I think every municipality was agreeing with the model that we were proposing. But because it's provincial and it's OPP, they had to look at the whole province, and which takes so long. So here we are still trying to make up our minds. But thanks for the comment, Devin.
Thanks.
Okay, and we'll go on then to the next one, also yours.
Yeah, I mean, this is once again, just a lot of it talking about the More Homes Act, which is a big one. We're going to see growth in our township along with every other township. And I think it's important for us to know, and I'm kind of hoping, and I know this is Kirsten's already on the radar with this, is just to make sure that we're well advised of, especially with some of the changes with the RVCA rules and everything else that's going to happen. Just making like it's there, so like as much information as we can get back to as well, so we have a good understanding as that goes forward, which I know you're already on, but I just want to also bring it up too as well as we move forward with that. So
Yes.
If I can speak to that one, thank you, Chair. So Bill 23 has been tabled. This bill has been tabled. They're asking for feedback from the big organizations, AMO, MFOA, all those organizations, because this is going to have a large impact on rural Ontario with the development charges, the parkland fees, some of those changes. So it's not in effect yet. It's tabled until they get feedback from the organizations. So until that time, when that happens, we will for sure bring information back to council. Yeah.
that's fair. I mean, it's nice to have communication a little bit as much as we can as we go through it, because there could be feedback that we could also be giving back to as well. So that's why I want to make sure that we're aware of this, especially as a council group and the new council coming in, how that discussion is happening and how it's affecting us as well.
Yep.
Yeah.
So AMO and MFOA, they'll put forward
that's
what they're
good.
going to recommend and provide for comments. So that will come on our agendas. Yeah.
Perfect.
Thanks, Steph. And the third one there on the Recreation and Culture Committee, final letter.
Yeah, so they gave us a letter, well done by Maggie, who wrote it up, and basically just kind of giving a good synopsis of all of the great things that the group did. We all know what the especially last couple of years have gone through, and still being able to get the Santa Claus parades in there and their Easter with the Easter bunnies, which were like record number events, and then now that even the latest one with that's listed on there too, as well as the Mighty Machines, which was another like record-setting amazing events that we had so many people in for. Like I remember when I first came on council, even like in the past, like we'd have a breakfast with Santa. If we had 100 people, we would be like jumping for joy, and then like all of a sudden we had like 600 people showing up for our events. So I think it's amazing what that group did, especially through COVID, and I look forward to hopefully all of our members coming back, or as many as possible, and seeing what forward and what more we can do as we go forward. So very exciting that we were able to put that back together, and I think there's going to be some really cool things going forward. So if you haven't read the letter, I think we all have, but obviously read through the all the cool things that were done. And even the failures, I would say, were great learning lessons and successes at the end too as well. Because you can't, you're going to fail at some things, and that's just part of the fun, and the successes outweighed the failures by tenfold. So kudos to the group, and I look forward to the next 4 years with our group. So.
Yeah, and I'm not really sure that the word failure is the proper word, because I attended those, and to me they weren't failures.
Fair enough.
They were small.
Yes. Yeah, fair enough. Yes.
But again, if you're learning from those experiences, I'd rather just call them an experience, because if you're learning from those experiences, good or bad, they're not a failure. So
I stand corrected.
yeah, and so anyways, thanks. You took all the words out of my mouth. I spent the last month trying to make a speech about this, so you just said, no, just kidding. And so just really as Reeve, I also want to thank Brandy, the chair, and Maggie, and the reps, the county reps, the council reps. Like, again, in a short period of time, 4 years, or not too much longer, a lot has changed. Now, I remember back quite a few years ago, long before I was on council, 16 years ago, many years ago, we had a very active committee working. But then things started going downhill, and the usage started going downhill, and so on. So now we've made a great big circle and come back. But it's really from a whole bunch of people wanting to be passionate about something and to be creative, and that a lot of it is creative. And again, just to reiterate what you're saying, Jeff, is that it'll really be nice to see also more activities really to do with actual physical recreation. So again, it's just about being creative, and so I want to personally, on behalf of all of council, to just thank you and Ian, and then Karen for sitting in as our reps on that committee, and all of the reps. So Maggie, you can pass all that on to your group for the next meeting if you can. So huge thank you. So anything else on this? Okay, thanks. And then we're going to go on to unfinished and other business, and there is none. And I guess again, before we do confirm the bylaw, I just want to say myself, because this is actually our last meeting. I came in here wondering and thinking that maybe there's one more meeting, but this is the last meeting. So somebody asked me earlier if I had prepared a speech, but no, I haven't. I just want to say a huge thank you to this council and to the previous 3 councils that sat around this table. So for 4 councils in a row, I feel we've had really great councils. We've had huge inputs, and the best part of what was that we had a lot of discussion, and we had debate, we had discussion, we had agreement, we had disagreement, and then we made decisions. And my advice for the future will be that when council makes the decision, it's a council decision, and everybody should get on board, and everybody should support it, because it's a council decision. And really that's what democracy is about. So that's from the council point of view. And again, on behalf of myself, this is the last meeting I'll be chairing, again, a huge thank you to so many staff that we've had over 16 years, including the present staff that we have. We're so blessed, and I feel that the councils have made all of us look really good. And again, the advice there is that we have to keep continuing to learn the 2 roles, our role around this table as council, and then the staff role. And if everybody understands each other's role, then things are moving forward very positive. So that's just a little bit of a side comment. And then I have to thank the public, because again, with people who are persistently with us and persistently asking questions, we have to say thank you because it's the council, it's the public that we're working for. And I think that that's so important that you are able to ask questions and so on. And I believe it was, I think at the very first meeting that I attended here 16 years ago, the very first meeting I put on the table to have that question period at the end. And I feel that it's been so such a great positive part of being democratic in Montague, and that's how we've run the meetings. And I don't feel there's ever been a problem. And like I said, I believe that the other thing I believe is that as long as council has the only one agenda, and that is to try to make Montague a little bit better than it was when we came on. And if we're all there for that reason, the same as the public and our staff, then hey, we're away to the races, and we have nowhere to go but up, as far as I'm concerned, in Montague. So I have so many people to thank, and like it was a hard decision to not be part of it for the next 4 years. But I figured that it'll be just as hard 4 years from now if I hadn't been that part of it. So I just want to say thanks to everybody, and it's been a really great run. And I also then finally just want to say thanks to everybody, whether they're here in this room tonight or not, who put their name in and run. That's a huge thank you from me also, because it takes a lot of courage, and it takes a lot of time and passion and hard work. And again, if the agenda is to make your community better, then everybody deserves a thank you, whether you won or not. And finally, just congrats to the new council coming in. And Morgan's not with us tonight, maybe she's listening, but you could pass that on to her too. So congrats, and just we'll be all looking forward to the next 4 years, I'm sure. So thanks to everybody. And now I think we have the last count of the last motion here. It was, oh, yes. No, you. Yeah, I guess it'll have to be on me. So do we have any questions from the public? No, Tom. Yes, Tom.
On the recreation feasibility study, when you did that, I wonder if the new council and the present staff we have now, which when you do one of these type studies, it's mainly the capital cost, but you don't put in there if you're going to need snow plowing, you're going to need grass cutting, you're going to need equipment to do it with, cleaning the washrooms, the maintain whatever you get under the capital gains. There's going to be a cost that's a constant cost. Mm-hmm. If you could put that into, like when you're doing the study, to give the public an idea, can we really afford it? Because we might get the grant to build it, but can we afford to maintain it, cut the grass, plow the snow in the winter to get in there, the parking lot, the lighting, if you put up lights for the ball field, can you afford to pay for the hydro? Can you pick up the garbage? Who's going to go in and pick up the garbage? Those type of things, if they could be included when you're doing, okay, I'm looking for a grant to go put a ball diamond in. Who's going to cut the grass? You need an extra lawnmower to do it. You need an extra person to do it. Who's going to pick up the garbage after the thing? Who's going to put the lines on for the diamond? Mm-hmm. Those costs, if you could kind of put that in when you're doing it and looking at it, then you'd have a better idea if the township can afford it, and everybody's got an idea of what it costs, not just, oh, we put it in the field, it doesn't cost us anything for everybody to go out and play ball. It doesn't, but it costs to cut the grass, to pick up the garbage that's left over after a game and all that stuff.
So, yeah, so we got a couple of hands here, but Ali, you can respond.
Sure. Thank you, Tom. So the current feasibility study does show the operational revenue and expenses. If those based off other municipalities who put in similar type of things. So ours would be the same. So in the event that we are successful in the grant, I would bring forward to council the estimated operating costs based off maybe a ball field in Lanark. right? That's a true ball field that we have in our area, along with the revenue that offsets. Normally with a ball field, it's almost equally offset with revenue coming in from the organization's renting and the cost to offset. But that would absolutely come forward if we get funding, because we realize that it's not just the capital side, that there is an operational side to that. So that would be included in the event that we're fortunate enough to get that grant. Right now, we've just applied for the capital side. We don't have to accept the grant if we get it. If we look at the numbers, as far as a ball diamond goes though, the numbers would be less than $10,000 a year to operate based off other ball diamonds of similar infrastructure of what we're looking at that operate in Lanark County.
Okay, because like going back to when they built the salt shed here, they forgot to put the foundation in. It was a big cost. And then after the, it's not just ball diamond, but it's just ongoing things. If you list what the expenses are, somebody might look at it and say, oh, you've listed that, but you forgot about this one.
Yep.
Like on the feasibility study, it didn't really break it down to cost of plowing the snow for the parking lot, looking after the parking lot. Not that I read anyway, maybe I missed it, but
Yeah,
that's what I'm leading to.
absolutely. And I mean, with the ball field, it wouldn't be maintained in the winter. It would be a seasonal, whenever we have students and we get grants for them and all those type of things as well. So absolutely, that will come forward before we actually accept the grant if we're lucky enough to get it. But a ball field or maybe a beach volleyball court or something along those lines are things that are relatively inexpensive to operate, that might be feasible for us to have.
Yeah, until you put the lights in, put the towers in for the lights, and then it gets more and more expensive.
If that's not included in the grant, yes.
Yeah.
If it's LED lights, the lighting is next to nothing, and Ontario Hydro also has grants for those type of things as well. Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks, Tom. Yes, Councillor Straight.
No, I think that Ms. Wright can answer the question.
Yeah.
You're welcome.
Okay, any other questions? Grace, do we have any questions from you?
No questions from the public.
And,
I have none.
okay, so if there's no further questions, then we have a motion. It was moved by Councillor Carroll and seconded by Councillor Jennings that bylaw 3939/2022 being a bylaw to confirm the proceedings of council at its regular meeting held on November the 1st, 2022 be read a first, second, and third time and passed, signed, and sealed this first day of November 2022. All in favor? That's carried. Thank you. And we have a motion moved by Councillor Jennings, second by Councillor Straight, that council adjourn at 6:52 p.m. until November the 15th, 2022 at 6 p.m. All in favor? Okay, and that's carried. So we'll just take a minute and we'll move on over to the committee meeting. So welcome, everybody. We're going to open this meeting. It's also in person and it's also live streamed again, November the 1st, 2022. And so this meeting is now open. And I do have a motion. It was moved by Councillor Carroll and seconded by Councillor Jennings that the committee of the whole agenda dated November the 1st, 2022 be approved. All in favor? It's carried. Thank you. Again, I'll remind all of council that if you do have any disclosure of interest, you can declare it now or anytime during the meeting. And we're moving on. We have no delegations tonight. And the first report of the municipal officer is yours, Kristen. So I guess, yeah, we'll go through them one at a time if we've got somebody here to give that report. So the first one is on the third quarter planning report. Now, if you want to, do you have anything to give us first before we open up to questions?
I don't think there's much to say. I think everything is,
You're gonna have to speak up.
oh, sorry.
Mhm.
I don't think there's much to add. I think everything is pretty clear in the report, but I welcome any questions that council has.
Okay, any questions at all? Okay, then we have a motion that was moved by
Pardon
Council.
me?
Pretty easy.
Yes.
So we have a motion that was moved by Councillor Jennings and second by Councillor Straight that the council accept the third quarter planning report as information. All in favor? Thank you. The next one is the third quarter report on the building from Mr. Hunter. Do we have any questions and comments on that? Okay, seeing none, we have a motion moved by Councillor Straight, seconded by Deputy Vandermeer, that council accept the third quarter building report as information. All in favor? That's carried. Thank you. Moving on, our third quarter fire report. And we have our fire chief here. Miles, do you want to,
No, just any questions?
any questions? So do we have any questions for our, yes?
So I have a random question about burn permits, if you don't mind. Have we seen like a massive reduction in calls and everything else as far as people having, like, now that we switched that bylaw over to, like, are we still getting calls from people asking about just having a regular campfire? Or is that,
So when we implemented that, they didn't have to call in for certain size campfires.
Yeah.
It certainly reduced the staff's time. For phone calls, we used to get probably 500 to 600. On a weekend, we reduced it probably down to 25 calls on a weekend. So it's
and those,
quite a
20
difference in staff.
and those 25 calls, are they just for the big ones? Or are they still are there still a few people think they have to call?
Some
for the
still have a
small ones?
mindset that they have to call in all the time, but we're certainly trying to get it out to the public, with between reception and myself. But it's certainly reduced a lot of staff time.
And we haven't seen any increase in complaints at all or anything like that.
No.
So really, it's been a pretty smooth, reducing time, and has been a smooth process overall.
It's
So
certainly been a process that's worked very well for the township, and hopefully we can move forward with it.
that's awesome. That's good. Perfect. Thanks. Yeah.
Any other questions for Miles? Okay, thanks, then Miles. And we have a motion here, it was moved by Deputy Vandermeer and seconded by Councillor Carroll that council accept the third quarter fire report as information. All in favor? And that one's carried. And moving on to the third quarter report of the MLEO. Any questions on that? Moving forward then, we have a motion moved by Councillor Carroll and seconded by Councillor Jennings that council accept the third quarter municipal law officer enforcement report as information. All in favor? And that's carried. Thank you. The next one is the water operator, Miles Greer, third quarter report. Any questions on that? Seeing none, moved by Councillor Jennings, seconded by Councillor Straight, that council accept the third quarter water report as information. All in favor? Carried, thank you. And moving on, Ali, is yours and on the BCR to September the 30th. Anything on that?
Thank you, Chair. So this is the budgetary control report to council to September 30th, 2022. It is noted in the report, some of the variances that you do note. The WSIB refund shows WSIB lower than potentially what should be allocated. We've had to get some additional office equipment. There's going to be substantial savings in the wages though for admin this year. So we're utilizing those savings to be able to outfit some of our offices with locking cabinets and things that we should have. We brought on a full-time junior planner mid-year and had to outfit with a computer and some office furniture as well. New chairs for council that need oil. We have final payment for our debenture and fire happened. We have some other fuels anticipated to be over budget based on the drastic increase everyone has seen. As much as we don't pay the pump price, we still pay substantially more than what we would have anticipated in 2022. The roadside mowing is going to be under budget. It was completed twice this year. Based on the times it was completed, it seemed to really work. So we have some savings there that will offset some of the soft spot renewal replacement for the budget that's over on that. We have a year-end adjustment for inventory that we completed for some of our sand, our grit, our winter grit and our salt. So you'll see some changes there by the time year-end comes in. And you'll notice on rec that they have some great revenue brought in this year to offset some of their expenditures. Any questions?
Okay, seeing none, thanks Ali for that. I guess you did touch on salt. I was going to ask that question because we had such huge increases in salt in recent years. What about in the next 1 or 2 years, or do we have any long range plan there?
So salt is locked in, correct me if I'm wrong, Steve?
Yeah, so we just renewed, and we did go down, it was $10 a ton this year.
Oh, good.
So hopefully that trend continues because it did spike pretty drastically, but yes, it did go down a bit for this year.
And do we cost share?
So that's good. County completed tender and all local municipalities go.
Do they all?
There's a couple that popped out of it, but
Okay.
majority are.
Okay. Yeah. No, that's good. Thanks. Okay, so seeing no further questions then on this, we have a motion moved by Councillor Straight, second by Deputy Vandermeer, that council accept the third quarter budgetary control report as information. All in favor? It's carried. Thank you. Thanks, Ali, for that one. And then yours is the next one, also on the lead hand, third quarter public works update.
Sure. So I wasn't sure if our public works manager would be here or not, but we did up a third quarter report because he's off right now. He had a new baby, so we've been filling in. So Public Works has been busy throughout the 3 months. They completed dig outs, as you've seen on Nolans Road West, Fullbrook, Pinery, and Wood. That included not just dig outs, they were fixing them properly with the geotextile, the drainage stone, and then stone on top. They widened portions of code. They've been doing tree trimming and brushing, sign installs. Steve, do you want to take it?
I'm good. I'm here for any
Okay,
questions.
okay. Obviously, to general equipment maintenance, that's been ongoing. Students are completed their work obviously at the beginning of September, but they were doing lawn cutting, maintenance, looking at the cemeteries, all those type of things. Staff installed 10 culverts. The microsurfacing was completed, which the Public Works manager, I think had spoke about previously. The waste, we've seen similar for disposal numbers. Recycling has gone up in numbers, which is good. That's potentially staying out of our landfill sites. The capital, so Richardson Road Culvert was completed as presented by the Public Works manager October 4th. And obviously McLaughlin Road, I knew it. But there's photos here of McLaughlin for everybody so they can see what a great job was done from the group. And that's kind of a high level overview of what's been happening the last 3 months.
Any questions?
Just kudos. I mean, both those two as well under budget too as well, which is huge. I mean, I know Steve's working on those, especially McLaughlin Road. Making sure that was under budget too as well. That was a big one that took years and years. So I think that's great. And I like to key in on the dig outs because I think that's one that is huge because we know that that's one of our biggest complaints that get driven into the township. And I think that's huge as Steve's been noticing where the really bad ones are to tackle those dig outs. So I think that's fantastic because that's going to help with those really bad soft spots. So I think that's going to help overall with people's, they're going to be driving down Nolans Road. And that's one spot I remember hearing people saying with the rivets going through that. I think next year they're going to be driving down Nolans Roads going like, I thought there were supposed to be like huge rivets when I drive through. And I think there's going to be more of a surprise factor when people are driving through that. I think that's fantastic. So we're seeing those fixes as we're talking about those issues. So we're moving in the right direction and we're seeing big improvements there. So kudos, Steve. So.
And you may not have heard, but I had an interview last week on Lake 88 as outgoing Reeve, and And they were asking like some of the things I was proud of, and I was going on about the road system in Montague Township and saying that I didn't think that there was we're second to none as far as I'm concerned with the municipalities. We happen to say that at the county level too. We're second to none with the surrounding counties, but I can sit here and honestly say that I feel that we're second to none as far as the lower tier municipalities. And a big thank you to you. You haven't been with us a long, long time, but you've certainly made some great changes. And everything that Jeff said, I'll just ditto that and more. And so thanks for that. And the only other thing was, did you bring any pictures of the little one?
Show you some.
Yes, Jeff.
I was gonna, on a side note too, as well as Steve is fantastic. But he's got some guys out there in the shop too as well that have been also making him look good. And I always say like a good manager has good people underneath him, and I mean I know he knows that too as well. And he kudos to those guys, but it's good for us to recognize the work that those guys do out there and what they do. And we lost one recently. Mr. Kirkwood, but then we just we get another guy, Hamill, and he's gonna be rock solid for us. So we just keep making sure we have a solid team out there, which is really, really awesome. So.
Okay, thanks. No other questions, comments?
Comment?
Yes, sure.
Found out on Friday that the graders go as slow as the snowplow operators.
Safety first.
That's a compliment.
No, it is, but it was like, because I couldn't pass, it was like butter.
It helps the equipment last.
Yeah, I've never followed a grader before, but I have snowplow, but.
Okay, so we have a motion here, was moved by Deputy Van der Meer and second by Councillor Carroll, that council accept the third quarter Public Works report as information. All in favor? That's carried. Thank you. And the next one, H, is yours also, Ali, on the casual on-call equipment operator.
Sure.
Or Steve.
Thank you, Chair.
Here to this.
So staff is recommending at this time, we have a number of internal members on the fire department that have DZs and those type of things. The pandemic has really made clear succession planning and how important it is, and to have backup, especially for equipment operators, our plow drivers, for emergency services, for people to get out, all those things. The recommendation from staff is to post internally for a casual on-call equipment operator that is already has their DZ license through fire, and would potentially have the ability to fill in for any time that our full-time equipment operators maybe are sick, if they have COVID, if they have family things going on, whatever the case is, to be able to backfill and ensure that we're maintaining that same level of service throughout at all times, especially in the event that we get some kind of situation like an ice storm or a snowstorm or some kind of an emergency and somebody can't come into work. There is a cost associated based on the budget. We're going to be under budget by about 10%. There will be funds available there to bring somebody in, hire them and train them internally, have them sit in the truck with one of the other full-time members, drive, get used to the equipment, know the routes, to be able to have that hands-on learning, as well as the other side, the paperwork side. There's many benefits, obviously coverage. Drivers are legislated on available hours based on MTO for on duty, off duty. Allows public works employees the opportunity to take time off in the winter months, which currently they don't have that ability. So that is important. Succession planning in the event a full-time employee leaves, we may already have a potential candidate that's already trained to move into that position. And like I said, our level of service never decreases. So it's projected that we'll be under approximately $10,000 this year in wages for public works based on looking ahead. So we're recommending that we budget approximately 4 weeks of wages for a casual on-call operator each year, which would amount to about $6,000. But the coverage and I think the level of service and just what that brings is more than worth the $6,000 moving forward. So it's recommended that if we bring somebody on this year, we would go ahead and get them trained. If we ever get snow, this weather that we've been having is lovely, but I'm ready for the white stuff. Yeah, I'm ready for it. So it would now would be the time to get somebody and get them trained, and become aware of the equipment rather than, so being proactive rather than reactive whenever it's too late and we're down a couple people.
Yes, Constable.
Well, I think it's an excellent idea, and whoever come up with it, kudos to the person who come up with the idea. You mentioned, Ali, about you would train someone and so forth. Would they get paid during that training time?
Absolutely, yes.
Okay. When they're on call, are they being compensated for something to be on call, or are they only getting paid when they're working?
So they would be casual on call. So they would be made aware of if we had somebody off, they would be made aware of that to be available to us. They may or may not be available to us because they probably have a full-time job or potentially, depending on what's going on. But they would be paid accordingly to Employment Standards Act for those type of things.
Okay.
Kind of to go along with that, just to be clear, if that casual worker doesn't have to be called, then what's the cost?
Nothing.
They don't get paid when it's called.
That's right. They're casual on call. Yeah.
Okay. Yes, Councillor Straight.
I guess if we're opening it up, are you gonna look at one person, multiple people? Like if there's 3 guys that were interested, would you consider training 3 people? So there's always that backup person, I guess, is my question.
So it's entirely up to council. Obviously, this year we'll have some budgeted money to be able to put time into training a couple of people if needed. And as I said, if we don't call them in, there's no cost to us. But it would be nice, sure, if there's a couple of individuals who are interested to get them trained on the plow and using that equipment. A lot of them know how to drive a DZ truck, the fire trucks. It's the plow portion that we want to get them trained on.
And essentially, right now, there's 5 pieces of equipment with utilized, right? So there always could be 5 people driving at one point in time, which would increase the level of service within the township.
Not even just that, in the event of like an ice storm, an emergency like that, we can pull on potentially a member of the fire, or if it's somebody internally, if there's anybody internally interested, we can pull on them to assist and offset those hours of our public works, because they would be pushing their hours potentially with MTO in something like that, right?
Yeah, 100%. And I feel like the greater world, watch out for your mailbox.
Some mailbox I noticed when I was swinging now.
Yeah, well, those ones are pretty good.
A little bit.
But as we saw there in the past, like when there's a really bad snowstorm and our operators can only operate a certain number by the code hours per day and for safety hours per day, then those machines just have to stop working. And yet it's still snowing and the roads are getting worse. But this way, that's really what it's all about, having somebody fill in on those at those times. It's very, very good. Yes.
So to go along with Councillor Straight's comment about having multiple, because as she said, if, for example, the person, if we only did one, when we needed them wasn't going to be available for whatever reasons, we've got a resource to pull again. So if we've got a few bodies available, that would certainly be beneficial to ensure that that coverage is always going to be available. Because unless they are working, except for the training, there is no cost. So I think we should get the cross training done.
So yes, Jeff.
Yeah, I'm kind of going along with that, where I like to even see if there is like a couple of individuals. I think that'd be a great chance, because it could also help with the offsetting, because we might have some of those public works employees that are looking to do some training in some other avenues as far as that succession planning too as well. So as we look at the different succession planning between that, it could really work out. Because on a side note too as well, like we were fortunate that Steve knows how to drive a plow truck without hitting mailboxes. I just didn't tell you. But like in the last 2 years, like how many times did you have to jump in the truck?
A handful of times.
So a handful of times, and it's great that we have that you can do that, because you have the license to do that, but that's not where we want you to be. But it's great that you can do that, but as much as that we can avoid doing that, I think that's another piece that people need to understand, that you actually were jumping in on that, which is, and not every public works department has their manager that has that license. So we were fortunate that he was able to do that. If he didn't do that at that time, we could have been in a little bit of trouble. So I think that's like, this is why this is greatly important for everybody to understand that too as well.
Anything else on this? Okay. I do have a motion. It was moved by Councillor Carroll and seconded by Councillor Jennings that council approve staff to post internally for a casual on-call equipment operator, and that the chosen hire by the Public Works Manager be trained and accompany a full-time staff member for hands-on training up to a maximum of 4 weeks for the 2022 year, as the wages budgeted for the 2022 year will accommodate the expense. Before we vote, yes.
Can you change that wording to operators?
Plural.
Plural, please, thank you.
Yep, operators. Thanks, Ian.
Hires. Yeah.
Thanks, Ian.
See you in a couple.
Anything else on this? All in favor? That's carried. Thank you. And thanks, Steve, for that, and Ali. And moving on, the next one is on the third quarter staff overtime report.
Oh, yes. Thank you, Chair. So it's not in my agenda. So this is the third quarterly report for overtime that's presented on a regular basis. Or just as similar to the second quarterly, we do have a number of overtime paid out under administration based on staff that had accumulated hours and then left their position earlier on in the year. Since then, we've had minimal. Public Works is normal, if not under. Overall, administration is still under based on previous years, and you'll see that in the fourth quarter. So I have no concerns at this time. We're going to be under budget unless we get snow again. Everything is looking very good at this point in time.
Okay, any questions on this? Okay, we have a motion moved by Councillor Jennings, second by Councillor Straight, that council accept the third quarter staff overtime report as information. All in favor? That's carried. Thank you. Moving on, we have no reports of committees tonight and no petitions or motions and notices of motions. And we have no unfinished business or other business, except I was just going to make one more comment if I could, and I forgot to do this a few minutes ago. That is actually to congratulate Ali, you, for something you did in another municipality, that being becoming a councillor for the Lanark Highlands. And if you don't know, that Ali got a huge majority. I think it was it 72%, and she got that because she'd been working there, so the people knew what kind of job and what kind of person Ali is. And we happen to be the winners by having you work with us now, but they happen to be the winners about having Ali sit at the table up there. So congratulations.
Thank you.
Job well done.
Thank you.
So yes.
Maybe we're done, are we?
Well, we're going to go to questions, but yes.
Yeah, so I'd like to make a few comments since this is my last meeting. First off, to you, Reeve, thank you for everything you've done. You've guided us in a tremendous direction. This council has accomplished a lot. The township has accomplished a lot, and it's all because of your direction and so forth. I want to thank you for that. Personally, I'm still reeling tremendously from the loss, but I will live on. I want to thank everyone here who has worked with me, and put up with me, and so forth. And I will probably move on to something else. And hopefully, I wish the new council moving in the best of luck. The staff, you've been tremendous over the last number of years. Your reports have been very good, and that's it.
Thank you, Klaus. Yes, Ian.
Same thing, Ray, if you don't mind. I want to take just a minute to, first of all, it's been 8 years, a long time ago. I can remember sitting in this exact same, well, not this exact same chair, she just got new ones, but sitting in this exact same chair. And I remember us having to buy a snowplow truck our first year. And we all sat here and we looked at the financials and we were wondering, where the heck are we going to get that money from? Because we didn't even have enough money at that point in time to buy a truck, and we had to borrow money from the province, to get it. So I think the townships came a long ways over the past 8 years. It has a lot to do with the staff and the council as well. The direction that's been provided is taking us to a whole new level. And I think the staff that's here right now will continue to you'll continue to see the township grow and evolve. The staff right now is excellent. This is the best staff I can honestly say since I've sat here to work with. What they do on a day-to-day basis is perfect. We have a great leader and great managers throughout the whole township, and everyone that works here is, their hearts are in the right spot, and it shows. I don't get any complaints anymore from people about roads. I don't get complaints anymore about people from answering the phone in the front or anything of that nature. My phone's down. I don't get any of these crazy emails anymore. And it's been a great 8 years. It's been great learning opportunity for myself. And I want to thank the staff for everything they've done. It's been much appreciated. It makes our life a lot easier sitting here around the table. And I want to thank the council that's been here and that's worked with us for the last 8 years. It's been great. And all the best to the new council that's coming in, and keep on doing the great things that we've started.
Thanks, Ian. Okay, and now, yes.
Can I just speak from staff? So we don't have any great big item to say this evening, but at the appreciation dinner, we will be making our speech to council and to obviously all of our volunteers and all those things. So we will have a slideshow as well. So we plan on making it something special.
Okay, so I'm just going to now open it up to public if we have any questions. Yes, Mike.
I have two questions. The first one is on the budget ending period September 30th. Under recreation, the AED grant, was that the grant that we got to put a boat launch someplace?
No.
Whatever happened to that? Was the boat launch put there?
So that was 5,000 from ECDEV from the county. The boat launch has not been put in. We have some issues with insurance for that, so that's still on hold.
But this isn't the grant for that?
No, there's no funds there. That's sitting there. You'll see there's nothing budgeted.
Right.
That must be from previous years. It's still sitting on the budgetary control.
Oh,
There's
so it's
no
not from this
money.
year.
There's nothing. No.
Okay. My next question is for the gentleman behind me, I guess. They were doing the tree trimming and brushing, and I noticed on Rosedale North, I don't know what it's called. It's like a sideways lawnmower that cuts back the trees. Looks awful, and it can't be good for the trees. Is there not some other way that those can be trimmed back? They're killing trees.
That's a great question. It's one that we do it quite a bit. And it is a common practice throughout the family. The other way to complete that is by hand. I believe you can probably think of how much cost and manpower that takes to complete that. It would not be feasible. And sight lines are our biggest thing. And then that's really what we're focusing on right now. And there's no way to get around the whole municipality right now without using mechanical pressure. If we were doing this by hand, we would never get around. We would pretty well just be wasting time, because by the time we get around, it's all the sight lines are already a hazard as well.
It just rips the trees. I mean, is
So
there not something else?
there is no other mechanical one that will do anything like that.
That's a shame.
So just to speak to that, Steve, Maggie, yeah, absolutely. As Steve said, the alternative is manual. And if that's something that you want the new council to look at, by all means, send them an email for budget. We're talking 6 figures though. So I think that's if council wants to put that kind of funds into doing the manual removal, as staff, we can look at that if the funds are there for us to do it. Right now, most municipalities use the brushing head because it's the most cost effective. Obviously, we know it's not necessarily the nicest looking. It's the most cost effective for us small municipalities that are trying to do it on limited funds. Because safety is #1 priority for the people on the roads, and it's all those sight lines and those type of things.
Is this basically a once a year thing, or once it's done, it's good for?
That's right, exactly.
Yeah.
So once we hit these target areas, it'll be years before we go back there. So we won't be going back each year to do those locations. We're going around the municipality, making sure we hit all of those identified locations.
And to be honest, if it's in front of their property, if they start maintaining that space, we won't be back. If they keep that maintenance up, we won't be back. And we have people that do that.
Those trees are not necessarily on somebody's land, they're kind of like in the ditch.
Yeah, that's right, but they start cutting the ditch and keeping that clear so that that growth, that overgrowth doesn't come back.
So it doesn't really kill the trees over there. This thing's been here, this thing's been in the township for 14 years. If that was the case, there wouldn't be a tree left in the ditch from here to the whole place.
Not the whole tree, but those branches are just.
Oh, it all grows back all nice and
It
green.
grows back in, yeah.
So Maggie, I was just gonna also say that, yeah, you're right, in like, prior to us getting that machine, we were doing some brushing by hand, but we were falling behind every year and we weren't getting finished. We weren't even getting close to the fence lines. And there had been, I'll say, accidents with deer and so on because of sight lines, but we weren't maintaining, we were losing ground. We were getting behind more further and further and further. And as Ali pointed out, like, I guess, you know, if enough staff were hired to do it all by hand, it was you know, $100,000, then you're talking, you know, maybe another 3% increase in taxes. And as you know, we've had issues with the public in the past where they said they want zero. Well, to do what we were going to do, all the brushing with by hand, it would be automatically a 3% increase, more or less.
I didn't necessarily
and-
mean by hand, I
yeah.
just thought there was some other.
Yeah,
equipment.
no, and the thing is that, and I agree with you, that it looks like a mess. I've complained myself, but it doesn't take very long. Like within a month, you know, the leaves start coming back out. So it really doesn't take very long, but it's when it's that bright yellow that the machine is just taken off the branch, but give it a month and it's got a different color or different patina, you hardly notice it. So, but thanks for the question. Yes, Ian?
As what the Regis mentioned to years, you know, just prior to me getting on council, we used to cut fence to fence.
Yeah.
In this whole township. So we had 2 or 3 guys that worked here all summer long that bush hog every single ditch in this whole township. So you can just imagine the cost associated with that and equipment and everything else. And we have looked at it in the past. We did look at buying a mower with a arm and everything else on it, but you know, you gotta pay someone to run it, and you know, you're probably into $300,000 or $400,000 by the time you get the thing up and running. It's a lot of money.
And I'm pretty sure that as the public works, as we catch up and we've finished everything back to the fence lines and you keep everything really small, then so it's much easier and less intrusive, and you would notice, and you will notice it even less. But it's the idea is to get caught up totally back to the fence lines, and then it'll be so much easier to maintain. So yeah, and safer. So yeah. Thanks. Any other questions? And I guess Gracie, do you have any questions from the public?
There are no questions from the public.
Okay, and no. Okay, so no further questions. Then we have a motion to adjourn, and that's by Councillor Straight and seconded by Deputy Vandermeer, that the Council of the Whole meeting for November the 1st, 2022 now be adjourned at 7:28 PM. All in favor? Thank you. So the